Floor Views, a production of Chesapeake Family Life, where we talk about health, education, and living with kids. I'm your host, Janet Jefferson. This episode is sponsored by Annapolis Pediatrics. For more than 70 years, Annapolis Pediatrics has provided exceptional health care to infants, children, and adolescents, and young adults in Annapolis and the surrounding communities. They have over 30 physicians and nurse practitioners to serve your family, and now in 6 locations: Annapolis, Crofton, Edgewater, Severna Park, Kent Island, and Pasadena. Learn more about Annapolis Pediatrics and find helpful parenting resources, videos, and more at AnnapolisPediatrics.com. Today on Third Floor Views, we're talking about the benefits of art in children's lives, and we have a really exciting panel. So we have Jeanne Calderon, Center Director of Music Together Chesapeake. We have Nicole Caracia, Vice President and Artistic Director of the Chesapeake Arts Center. And we also have Carey, who is the Conservatory Principal of Ballet Theatre of Maryland. And she is part of the Conservatory of Dance. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here and for joining me today. To our viewers, if you have any questions or comments, please just put those in the comment section and we'll get to those as we can. All right, everyone, let's jump in. So the first thing that I want to do is just here, since you're all coming from different places and serving different populations of children and doing different types of art, I wanted to start off with just learning a little bit about each one of you and the perspective that you're taking. So what I want to do is go around and just hear a little bit about your organization and who you serve and the types of programming that you do. And Emily, let's start with you.
Hi, everyone. Like she said, I am the Conservatory Principal for Ballet Theatre of Maryland. Ballet Theatre of Maryland is a nonprofit organization that consists of a professional company of professional dancers. We have about, I think, 50 this season, but we also have a Conservatory of Dance serving students in the Annapolis and Graysonville cities in Anne Arundel County. Our Conservatory of Dance holds classes for ages 3 through adult. We recently absorbed another dance school that's now part of Ballet Theatre of Maryland in Graysonville in 2021. So we're pleased to be able to offer instruction both on the Annapolis side and the Eastern Shore side of the bridge. And we offer dance classes in ballet, jazz, tap, modern. We do adaptive dance for individuals with intellectual and physical disabilities in Annapolis. And then we also do musical theater in Graysonville. So there's a few differences between the 2 locations in terms of class offerings, but for the most part, you know, what you can get here in Annapolis, you can also be able to be a part of in Graysonville. Ballet Theatre of Maryland Conservatory is a little different from regular conservatories in the idea of some of our values and missions. We promote a healthy body aesthetic for all of our children and dancers. We want to make sure that our students and our professional dancers alike have a healthy mindset and follow a healthy body goal in terms of what they look like and how they fuel their body, which sometimes can be the opposite in the dance world. It's definitely changing for the better, but it's still unfortunate that it has a stigma around it in that sense. So we definitely promote the healthy body and mind aesthetic, and we provide a very nurturing environment for our students where we teach them classical dance and the importance of routine, but we also allow them to do other things and explore other activities that they might want to partake in outside of the dance studio. We think that creates a well-rounded human and dancer, and in the end, that's what, you know, we're striving to create for our children.
And then Emily, what age do you start at?
2.5 in Graysonville and 3 in Annapolis.
Oh, teeny tiny.
So 3, basically 3.
Oh, thank you. Nicole,
Yeah.
How about you? Could you tell us a little bit about Chesapeake Arts Center?
Sure. So we just celebrated our 20th anniversary. We are a nonprofit community arts center located in Brooklyn Park, Maryland. We as well do dance, but we also do theater. We have a maker space. We have a STEAM lab. We have 2 galleries. We have a theater that holds 752. So we do a lot of performances. We all have a black box that holds 120. What else do we do? Visual art. We do a lot of different dabs into many different mediums. However, we also are partnered with ACPS and we do after school programming on top of other organizations that we work with like TCP, Next One Up, Judy Center. They're all partners of ours. So we provide after school program. This year, we're currently pretty much doing programming Monday, every day but Fridays. We've even been asked to provide on weekends because it's such a need in our area. So we definitely serve all the way from 2 to adults. Ceramics is actually one of our most popular for adults. So yeah, we kind of dab into multiple different things. One minute you come in for a performance, like tonight we have a gallery reception and an artist talk. Tomorrow will be a hula competition. So it's, I don't know. I think we're even having like a dog like circus event coming up too. So like
I love it.
We do multiple different things.
That's fantastic. And then Jeannie, how about you? Could you speak just a little bit about Music Together Chesapeake?
Okay, my name is Jeanne Calderon, and I'm the Center Director for Music Together Chesapeake. We've been serving families in Anne Arundel County, in around Anne Arundel County for over 25 years. And we serve families with young children. And we bring them community music making experiences. So the parent attends class with their child because the parent is the primary role model for their child to become a music maker. And we also serve area preschools by providing Music Together and a music specialist for them to serve, for them to bring music into their schools.
So then what age do you start with really, really little ones, and then you go all the way up until preschool?
Infants, pretty much up through kindergarten, 5, 6.
Okay. So starting into very early elementary school. So clearly there's a lot of diversity here, which is fantastic. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you all here today, because I really wanted to get into the topic of what are the benefits of art for kids. And each of you is coming at this from a different type of art and perspective. So I was wondering if you could each speak to what are the benefits that you're seeing of the students in your programs, and even thinking about, maybe how does it impact their lives in other ways, maybe even hidden ways that people don't necessarily think about. And Nicole, let's start with you.
Sure. So it impacts in multiple different ways with creativity, self-esteem, going into my fine motor skills. I have a whole list, builds memory and self-control. It also right now, I think it's really important for healing for all of us, not only children, but for adults going through what we've gone through the last 2.5 years. And it's important for children to have a safe space. And I think what all of us do in our programs is provide a safe space, but also educate. And it allows the students to learn a skill, but also work with their peers. And all of these skills, I think art in general starts at a young age before we even know. I mean, think about how we even sing ABCs at a young age. That's art, it's music. So everything starts, and it's just really important for young kids to start developing and seeing. And then even for adults to understand that, like, we got to have fun with it as well. But these skills go with us everywhere. Mm-hmm. We're all the time, at any point, we're all using art in some way.
Mm-hmm. So. Absolutely. Jeanne, your focus is really on younger students. And as Nicole pointed out, often kids are singing before they're even talking. So I'd love to hear your perspective on the benefits that art is providing.
Well, let me discuss real quick, Janet, a little bit about perception, because we'll have people call us and say, we want to get our child in a music program because I'm not musical or we're not musical at all. So we have to battle that all the time, because we believe that everyone has the ability to be able to make the music of our culture, be able to participate in the music of our culture. But in our culture, sadly, we have a performance mentality. So we tend to believe that those people who are quote unquote musical or artistic, or even for dance, I'm not sure what term to use, but those people that have those gifts are the ones that do, and we all just kind of sit back and watch. But we're kind of battling that because we believe that we're all capable. And
Yeah.
the benefits are, like Nicole was saying, just as music is a part of who we are, by expressing that, we're kind of becoming all we can be. And then in addition, there's Music Together has a document called Music Learning Supports All Learning.
Mm.
So how, like Nicole was saying, how the arts support math skills and social skills and language. So there's benefits, but we also believe that music for the sake of music alone is enough, even if you didn't have those other benefits.
Absolutely. Yeah. How about you, Emily? So you're focused on dance and movement. How does that benefit kids, and why is that important? And how does it impact the rest of their lives?
So I would say first, coordination is a huge part of what we teach, especially at the younger age level classes. Whether they know we're teaching them coordination or not, we have a good way of making games of coordination where they are dancing, but in the end, it's helping them develop those natural skills that we as humans need. So it definitely aids in natural development that way. It also helps build confidence as the children get older, especially if they're in any sort of performance. Not all of our students perform, but at the end of every school year, we do have an optional performance. And then the professional company does the Nutcracker every year, which students have the opportunity to audition for. So there are multiple opportunities for the students to participate in terms of performance, which is, of course, what as dancers our end goal is, right? And whether you want to be a professional dancer or not, the end is to take it to the stage. But even in classroom, performing for their peers or even for their teacher, it helps create that that spark in kids of wanting to please, which then in turn, as they get older, will take them to, that in a workspace. So myself, I'm a dancer, and when I used to have to work side jobs before I was getting paid enough to live off of my dancer salary, I would work at a restaurant here or there, but also would always have to ask off because we always needed time off for performances, right? And one day, one of the managers sat me down. I think I was 18 at the time. And he was like, look, technically you're supposed to be here on Saturdays. That's part of the rule, but we would rather you be here one time a month than never at all, because your work ethic and your ability to do as we ask right away is so more superior to, anyone else in your job that like we're going to allow it. And so it's very common for outside employers outside of dance, employers to have like a draw to dancers because they have that natural like performance of wanting to please and like taking their job seriously, because their whole life training in dance, that was it. You have to take it seriously if you want to be better. And so we definitely see that with our students as they grow. I've been with the conservatory for 10 years. So I have one group of students who are going into their senior year, and I've been teaching them since they were 8. So like I have been able to watch that progression happen as they get older. And it's rewarding to see, because it's not like we're making them do that. It's just what naturally is coming out of their training.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about the progression of kids in art and the role that art plays in kids' development over time. And Jeanne, you already talked about, you're starting when they're really, really teeny tiny. And already that you're seeing benefits and you're at such a critical time of development. What role is the work that you're doing, and how, what is that playing in kids' lives?
We're giving them an opportunity to express, to engage in something that they can participate in the rest of their lives. And you talked before about singing. While children sing when they're young, singing is a learned behavior. And we tend to support language development in children. When your baby's starting to babble, we babble back to them. But we teach parents to support their child's musical development. So if a child is going, then we encourage the parents to give that back to them. Feedback, which encourages them to do it more. So
that's really interesting in terms of how, it starts so early, and then the role of the parent to support the child as they're developing and encourage that behavior. Emily, you were talking about the role of coordination and teaching coordination to little kids and them not even realizing it. How is dance being used in other ways in terms of children's development, and how are you seeing it change as the kids get older?
I think as they get older, they start to almost have an appreciation for the work that they put in when they were younger without even realizing it. And so like when they're really little, they come to ballet class once a week, but once they hit like age 8 or 9, it's twice a week. And I think it's at that point where they decide, like, do I like this enough to come twice a week? That's a big question. And then if the answer is yes, that like is already sparking a natural like instinct of discipline. And so I think the discipline side, I kind of spoke on this already, but I think just like kind of like the coordination without them knowing, like it's creating a discipline, because as they get older, they take classes more times a week, and then they have homework, and it's like, okay, well, I have to get home and I have to do my homework because I want to go to dance. And so it creates a positive place for them to want to go and escape from like the outside world where they're also like continuing to learn. And so I think it just creates like the manner of wanting to take something seriously and doing it correctly.
So Nicole, you have so many different things going on at Chesapeake Arts Center. How do you see art playing into kids' development?
Well, actually, one of the things that we started before the pandemic that we're going to bring back, but it was part of Dr. McMahon from ACPS and Young Audience, is that we were actually, with the study they've shown as teachers that are in, I think someone said earlier, with like math and this different skills, we started where we are bringing the teachers to the CUC and having classes to them to teach them how to integrate the arts into their classrooms. Because of the skill level, not only is giving the teachers, they're also wanting to explore the arts, but how it is shown that when a student is provided the way learning through the arts, that their academic skills are actually higher and the grades are better. So in the everyday subjects, we go in and we think math, 2 + 2 is 4, and we're on to learning next thing you're doing algebra, geometry. But some kids, and I will speak for myself, is that I was always an artist that did not really understand I was an artist until I actually was an adult. And my brain thinks differently than someone who is just more of an academic, maybe book smart. And so I struggled a lot through school because I was always like, I see this differently and I don't get this in this way. And then it wasn't until I was older and I was like, and actually the PVA program, which is now Apex, kind of highlights that for children, is that, yeah, we kind of do think differently. And when we are involving it in everyday subjects, it's opening it up even more for students to think and learn differently. So with CC, we bring in differently with all the after school program, we have lots of kids of all different age range, but we're trying to show the different skills, but also involving with the teachers to learn different ways so that they can bring it back to their classrooms, because it is really important. And I think we need to look at it differently instead of saying like, oh, you don't get it. No, these children do understand things, but we just think differently. And I will speak that because I struggled for so long and I didn't get it until I became in this role where I'm involved with the actual art process and involved with instructors, involved with teachers in the county and students. And we're all really intelligent. we do it differently.
Right. So clearly arts have a huge benefit, it's whether it's doing well in school, like Nicole was saying, or improving discipline or coordination, like Emily was saying, or even like Jeanne was speaking about with language development. And all these things are so critical. How can parents then incorporate more art into children's lives? What are some suggestions that you might have to exposing kids to opportunities? And as you're thinking about this question, the other piece to it is, kids are changing all the time as they're developing. How do parents support them in their sort of art exposure as they get older? And Emily, I'll start with you. How can parents support their kids? What do you suggest in terms of exposing them to art opportunities?
So exposure wise, I would definitely, for dance at least, I can speak on attending performances that local professional or community-based performing arts groups put on. Ballet Theatre of Maryland, for example, puts on 6 professional productions a season from September to April. And then within that time frame, we also perform actually at students' schools. We do like lecture demonstrations that are usually organized by like the PTA of the school. So the parents might not necessarily know ahead of time that they're going to see that day. But if the kids come home and say, oh, today like a ballet group came, I definitely hope that the parent will then ask questions back. Oh, okay, well, what did you notice about ballet? In general, from our understanding, when we have new parents come, is if they never danced, they don't really understand it. Whereas like everyone does art in school to an extent, right? They take art class, and dance is becoming more widespread throughout the school system. But if it was something that the parent was never exposed to, it's either like an automatic, oh, you're not doing that, or it's not as, they don't take it as seriously as maybe like the soccer or the football. And so my suggestion and my hope is that parents will have more of an open mind to allowing their child to explore different art forms. And if they try dance, for instance, and hate it, but like maybe they really want them to be in dance, that they don't do that. Because if you make a kid do something that they don't want to do, we all know it doesn't work, right? So the hope is that, okay, well, dance doesn't work. Maybe let's try something musical, or maybe let's go take an art class, go take a ceramics class. So I just hope that whatever their past experience with an art form is, whether good or bad, that they don't allow it to affect how their child feels about said art form. And that's something, as someone who deals with parents often, that is something that I observe, that I hope stops. Because
Yeah.
it should be up to the kid, I think.
Right. Yeah. Jeanne was saying the same thing. Jeanne, you were saying that that's one of the big struggles that you've had, is that when that parents will call and say, I need to sign my kid up for music class because I don't know how to do music. What do you say to that?
To go back to Emily's point, also, how many people have traumatic piano lesson experience? So it goes back to number one, not forcing it, but also making sure the child's ready for it. Finding the right teacher.
Yeah, that's a big part of it as well. Finding the right place. Not every place is the same for everyone.
Right. So Nicole, thinking about all of the different arts that you provide and all the different kids in terms of ages, what do you suggest in terms of parents and how they can help support their kids in their art exposure and art education? I mean, you are in a sort of a unique setting that it's all at your fingertips. So if something doesn't work, it's like, try this. What is your approach?
Yeah, I think Emily, said it pretty well, is that, as parents, we want our child to do the best, and we always push to do the best, but sometimes when you push them, it's not what they want to do. And, I remember when I was a little kid, I tried dance, no offense, Emily, I was not good at it, but doesn't mean that it's not that I respect it and love it. I love doing it, just out with friends and whatever, but like, I could not, my grandmother was like, you are going to do this dance class. Because, that's like a stigma for little girls to go into dance. Not me. I'm a photographer, but that's my art. And I tend to kind of do that same thing to my children, where I'm like, oh, my husband and I are both artists. You're going to do this art. And they look at me and they're like, oh, no. And then, you got to just let them do what they want to do. And, exposing to, like Emily said, as many different performances, different programs. There's a lot throughout Anne Arundel County that provides free workshops, or just in general, there's a lot of art centers. There's about 40 different art organizations in our county. Let them try it. And if they say they don't like it, let them have that break. They will, if they want to do it again, they will go back to it. But forcing them is just the wrong way, because anytime you're forced, you just have a negative energy going into it, and negative energy will not help them with their skills and go further on with it. They're just going to always have that stigma of it. And so, with us, we do have the multiple different disciplines of art. So it is kind of like, well, we had a little boy, him and his brother came in to try dance, and they walked in, and one was like, I love this. And the other boy walked out and was like, I don't know, but he was carrying a book and a pencil. And I was like, are you more into visual arts? Like, do you like drawing? And he just lit up. And, his mom was like, I was kind of forcing him to do, the brothers to do this. But I saw that this little kid was more like into a different medium. And I'm like, well, let's go tour the center. Let's look at our art rooms. Let's do this. And he just lit up, and his mom was like, you're right. I can't force that. So you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah. Jeanne, as your families are leaving the program, as they start to age out, where do you tell them to go? What do you talk about in terms of next steps with their art education?
Well, that's can be tricky because there is a gap kind of between when they finish with us and when they're ready for formal music instruction. parents to have instruments at home and for them to play with their child musically. And to also, I always say, parents, let your child catch you singing and dancing. So that's important to the parent, then it's going to be important to the child. And we tell them to be real careful and put in their child in formal music instruction before they're ready.
Mhm.
That's one of the resources I gave you. There's a book called The Right Instrument for Your Child.
Yeah, that's really helpful. So we, with this video, we will post resources as well. So that's sort of my final question for you right now. And Jeanne provided a perfect segue, is what do you recommend resources for parents, whether it be maybe a favorite book that you have or podcasts, or even like, oh, there's this great festival that I love to go to, any kind of resources, whatever sort of can be a helpful tool for parents in their exploration of art education with their child. And so Jeanne, you were speaking to that book. Is there any, and I know I got your email with all the big list, which we'll absolutely post with this. Is there anything else that sort of jumped off as your sort of top favorite?
Like Emily was saying, we are very blessed in this area to have so many opportunities to take our children to performances, many of which are free. And I encourage the free ones for our families because young children don't often have the attention span. So if it's free and they're getting disruptive, you can get up and leave. Just to keep singing, moving. One story I have is one of our teachers, she became a teacher, but she was a parent in our program, and she brought her daughter to class for like 3 years. And when she got to the point where the little girl didn't want to sing anymore, which is normal, because children have realized that what they're hearing is not what they sound like, and they stop and they kind of readjust. But what happened with Haley is she went on to pursue ballet, and she became a professional ballerina. And the beautiful dance, she danced from the inside out, and that was she had all that musical training and music together, so she learned to express the music, not just dance to the beat.
Yeah, that's a great story. How about you, Emily? Do you have any resources that you recommend?
I don't have any like specific books or anything that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll think of some later. But I definitely think just if your child is already in a dance class, not leaving it at dance, right? So like if they go to class 4:30 to 5:30 on Wednesday, on Thursday, ask them to show you a step that they learned last night, or ask them to show you the dance that they're working on, or what kind of music they danced to this week. Because usually like a teacher will pick a theme, a ballet that, they focus their class's music around or something of that sort. So I think communication and just like creating conversation about what they're participating in. There's always conversation about school and homework and things like that, but I think if it's important to split the time up with their what they're enjoying to do too, right? So that, and then I think just there are a lot of videos of ballets on the internet. So if getting to a performance because it's too long or maybe it's too expensive for you, it's not something that, you can do. There are free ballet like videos on YouTube. And so I suggest like finding one and then like reading, if you aren't familiar with the story, reading the story to them about it. And just exposing them to different types of music and composers, and kind of just keep the conversation about it going outside of the dance studio.
That's great advice. Just that positive support. There's so many ways to do that, and just talking to your kid about what they're doing. Nicole, how about you? Any favorite resources that you have in terms of parents, supporting parents and their kids in art education?
Yeah, so if your child is definitely interested in the arts, probably the best resource to go to for Anne Arundel County is the Arts Council website, because the Arts Council provides a link to all of the organizations that are providing the arts in Anne Arundel County. So you can kind of go through the website and pick, if you want to do dance, if you want to do, you want to go to a gallery show, you want to go to performance. They're really good at supporting us as organizations. Or you could talk to your counselor at school and say, have your child talk to them, and they have resources to all of us that could help them. But I will chime in and say we do have an Arts in the Park Festival on October 8th, which is free to the community with live performances, over 50 vendors, art workshops. And, with that, it's a lot of our community resources coming in too. And that is a great opportunity to be exposed to the art, but also talk to some of these organizations that are coming and figure out who is best fit for you and your child.
Well, thank you so much to all of you. Thank you to Jeanne Calderon from Music Together Chesapeake. Thank you to Nicole Caracia from Chesapeake Arts Center and Emily Carey from Ballet Theatre of Maryland. Also, thank you to all of our viewers and listeners, and to our sponsor, Annapolis Pediatrics. Make sure that you visit ChesapeakeFamily.com for local, up-to-date information on home, health, and living for today's Maryland parent. This episode will be archived on ChesapeakeFamily.com in both video and podcast format, and there you'll find all the resources that we talked about today. I'm Janet Jefferson with Chesapeake Family Life and Third Floor Views. Thank you so much.